my friend, stepping in again to have a conversation about a taboo topic. At least it's taboo in the society that I came from, in the society that I live in currently, and that is the topic of sex. I was having a conversation with a friend this afternoon about it while we were hiking, and I just thought that it was important to go over some things and the importance of sex and how it is so much more than just a physical act. It's very important that we are healthy in our sexual experiences, and I can tell you this from having experiences that were not so healthy from time to time. So it is something that's very important, and again, something that's taboo, and I think that's part of the problem. The society that I live in currently likes to keep it on the DL, don't talk about it. If you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist, and the problem is there is a lot of STDs, STIs, and emotional and physical issues that go along with this, and it really is a topic that's very important to talk about. That's something that I spoke to about with my children. My sex education consisted of don't do it before you're married or you're dirty and used and nobody will want you. So needless to say, I married the first man that I slept with, thinking that I had to because we were, teenagers that had hormones and that got the best of us, and then felt like that was the only choice that we really had. So there wasn't any pregnancy or anything. It was just from the moral standpoint. So, and that really sets people up for failure if you're not properly educating them on the effects of sex or what it means, and making it seem so sick and wrong really doesn't do anybody any favors. So the conversation I had with my children surrounding sex was the difference between sex and love. They are two different things. They're great separately. They're better together. I also let them know that pregnancy is not the only thing that you have to worry about, and I let them know about the STDs, how common they are, where they could find references to figure out what it is, and how, yes, while some can be treated by just taking a pill, that there are some that you'll take with for the rest of your life. I know quite a few people that at a young age didn't know, weren't properly educated, and didn't properly protect themselves. So, and there's no way really when you're a kid, you make unwise decisions. Well, let's be real. Sometimes when you're an adult, you make unwise decisions, but hopefully you have at least a little bit more information when you're making those choices. I do think it's really important to talk about that. But being at the age that I am and having the experience that I've had, I realize one key piece that's missing to how most people approach sex. I work with shamans on a regular basis, and I have been educated in the fact that when you engage in sexual activity with somebody, you still carry their energy for 7 years after you've stopped. That's not after the first encounter, that's after you've discontinued having sex with them. You can do energy clearings, and maybe you don't believe in this, but I'm telling you from experience, it is a true thing. And having multiple partners at a time is very, very unhealthy for both partners, because not only are you bringing in all of the trauma, sadness, depression, joy too, any emotions and any experience that you've had, but if you are having an especially unprotected sex with multiple partners, you are bringing all of that in to each partner that you share with, those people's energy as well as your own. And to me, that's even more detrimental than a lot of the physical symptoms that you can get. And the emotional, that's one thing I let my daughter really know about, is the emotional exchange that you have when you're having sex. And I know that it's said for men and women that it's different, and maybe it is. I'm not a man. The fact that we're told that men have a stronger sex drive than women, I would call 100% bullshit on. Yes, men are more visual and women are more mental, but as far as the drive for sex, it is not different. Maybe for some people, depending on the different hormone levels, but as a standard, women want sex just like men do. The only difference is it's a little bit harder for us to get to the ultimate place of pleasure without having some mental stimulation as well, or feeling connected to our partner. We may want to please our partner, but we may not get to that ultimate sense of pleasure that we get to have as well if we're not connected with our partner. So, but what I did tell my daughter is really just to watch that, you know, pay attention, and that your hormones can trick you sometimes. And that's one thing about sex. Anything that I have researched on the subject and personal experience that I've had, it does actually trigger dopamine in your brain when you have sex. So if you're having it too soon in a relationship, and I'm not saying don't or that I haven't by any means, but it can make you think that you're in love. It can kind of skew your perception of that person. So it really is best to take just a little bit of time to figure that out. I know this is a very, very unpopular stance. And like I said, I've gone out and had my good times. So I'm not saying that, not to do this or whatever, but it definitely pays to be educated and just do your research and really feel things out. I have had partners that told me that I was the only one, and I just knew that I wasn't, because I could feel the energy from the other people that they were being with. And I typically left if that was the situation, because if there's a lack of trust, then there's really no reason to stay in that situation. And it endangers not only your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, but also your physical well-being if you don't know what's going on in addition to you. If you are not in a committed relationship, you should probably make sure that you are protected in many different ways, not just physically, but again, emotionally and spiritually. I think that our society has shamed the act of sex to where people just don't talk about it, and it's really actually a sad thing. Sex in a good, healthy situation is amazing. In the spiritual community, they do talk about that being the way, the quickest portal to heaven on earth. And from any of us that have experienced that, we can say that that definitely is true. I do ask, though, that you really educate your children. Please don't keep this information from them. I know some people take this stance of, well, if I'm talking to them, they think that I'm approving of it and that I'm telling them to go be promiscuous. And I think exactly the opposite. The problem is they're educated more than we are at this point, and they have access to things that we never had access to. And it is creating a culture that is really surface, and it is causing a lot of problems as a whole for both sexes and for every gender, every sexual preference. If we're not really clear and honest about what we're doing and how we're approaching it, we're really wreaking havoc, and it's really not all right. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Make sure that you are not only physically clean, but energetically clean. Respect your partner. Make sure before you have a new partner that you get tested. I always do, always have, always will. I will start making sure that I get those papers from my partners as well, just to make sure. I've been very lucky up to this point, but there's a lot going around. And again, it's just a lack of education, but also the instant gratification that we're all looking for. And in the long run, it's really just not worth it. Let's raise the vibration, raise the experience that we're having, create heaven on earth in the most healthy way that we can. Again, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and in every way possible. So namaste, my friends. Be safe out there. Enjoy your life. And I will be back soon.